I've been involved in a spiritual search, or was in a spiritual search, since the age of probably about 12, 13. From early age I used to have lots of experiences, unusual experiences. And I've spent time with gurus, and I've done tens of thousands of hours of meditation and more. And I've done all sorts of practices, and then I had a culminatory experience of Christ when I was 40, and started going to churches, and then I started to discover that my experience of Christ, which I thought everyone would have had if they were Christian or something comparable, that they didn't necessarily know any more than anybody else, but they were gathering as a way of life. And I followed various gurus, teachers whom I really truly believed in, whom I still believe in to a degree, and then I found those individuals like me were flawed. I used to think that masters were perfect. But of course, this is not true. That there might be an innate realization of innate perfection, but it's not necessarily manifested in living a perfect life. And this is how we are as human beings. We are not manifesting perfection necessarily in our daily lives. We're not perfectly free of ego. We're not perfectly free of pride. And we have ideas and images that the guru would be perfectly free of ego and perfectly free of pride and be just wholly benign and not struggling with some issues. And very often the guru, like ourselves, is actually struggling with some kind of issue. And then this is a very dangerous position if you are thinking of being a satsang teacher or a guru in some way, shape or form. You have to be very careful, because if you start living as an image and projecting an image of yourself, you will suffer, because there will be who you are and the image that you're trying so desperately to project, so you can reel in the business, and so that you can have people worship you, or whatever it is that you do satsang for, well, spiritual teaching for. Unless of course you're doing it out of the zeal of true realization, in which case you have no choice. It's going to happen anyway. And you will also make mistakes. We make mistakes as human beings. But even those mistakes are perhaps part of the tapestry of the wonder of the divine. Or perhaps they're not. What do we know? What do you truly know? Now, in terms of ultimate things about the nature of God, the chances are that you believe lots of things. If you do believe in that kind of thing, that you have various beliefs, and somewhere along the line those beliefs become a kind of knowing. You think you know because you believe so strongly. And you will not allow any possibility of questioning that belief, because to question that belief is to question the entire structure of your life, and if that belief is lost, then your life will have no meaning. And you find those with very strong beliefs, at the heart of it there is a doubt, and so it goes on. there is this present moment. There are these things called hands, and this is a tripod here, and there's a cup of tea. There are these things that we can name and know. With a certain certainty we hold this, and we seem to be holding a cup. And I look out the window and the sun is shining. It's a beautiful February day, 2012. So let's just start with this kind of knowing, shall we? Let's start with the simplicity and honesty of this knowing. This knowing. As soon as we enter arenas that we don't truly understand and speak from there, all sorts of problems emerge. And we get very confused and bemused. And we confuse others. And we speak as if we know, but really we're just quoting scriptures, quoting something that we've read from another. I was reading a book of a young satsang teacher, brilliant young man. And so much of it has some beautiful prose in his book, really beautiful. And I think he's a tremendous chap in some respects. And much of what he says is obviously because I'm well studied in this. I've been around. I recognise that. That's Krishnamurti. Even with Eckhart Tolle, you know, who is everyone will agree is an extraordinary master. You know, much of what he says I've read. That's Krishnamurti. That's Barry Long. Barry Long. And of course we now discover that Eckhart was influenced by Barry Long. Most people in the spiritual arena have heard of Eckhart Tolle, but they haven't heard of Barry Long. Now Eckhart has a very gentle spirit, very beautiful. I don't know him personally, but he comes across as really authentic realizer. And Barry Long, you know, and Eckhart, people kind of resonate well with Eckhart. They don't feel threatened by him. Well, where's Barry? Very, very direct, and people would get a little upset with Barry Long because sometimes when he delivered the truth, it was blunt, you could say blunt, but he didn't. He wasn't there to please egos, and what we see in the spiritual arena largely these days, the kind of current spiritual teacher is someone who is very, very, oh yes, oh yes, oh really, oh, it's very, it's very counselor type, oh yes, to the point of perhaps not having the edge of truth in it. Or perhaps it isn't. Perhaps I'm just saying anything. I'm going to turn off this fire now. Okay, this moment. Is all we know. Ultimate things we don't know. You may have an intuition of it, but as soon as you put it into words anyway, it's like, it gets confusing. So why not just be here? Enjoying here and now. What is immediately and obviously apparent, obviously so. Here's to the here and now, and here's to the unseen God. After my own realization, I thought that I just wanted to share it for the joy, because of the joy of it, and for no other reason, and because I wanted people to experience this. And we really think, you see, we really think we can change another, we can help another, we can save. We can't. The saving comes through grace anyway, but nobody changes. None of us change, unless change occurs spontaneously through God's grace at a given stage. Everybody does exactly what they want to do, even whilst complaining they don't want to do it. Everybody listens, and everybody doesn't, that people don't listen, but everybody hears what they want to hear. They do what they want to do. This is how it is here. When I gave a talk at the Women's Institute in, I think it was Wootton Bassett, many years ago, it was a talk on meditation and relaxation, but being me, I kind of went into kind of spiritual stuff. And I basically said everybody does exactly what they want to do. And as a group, the women just started shouting and heckling, and they really didn't like me. They really didn't like this. It was a terrible result in terms of happiness and peace and mind and stuff. And every woman in that hall, most of the women who spoke, they just felt totally justified that they were not doing what they wanted to do. That they were somehow martyrs, and they were and I can see their point of view.